All right, well, tonight we're looking at Deuteronomy 30 and 31. We just have a couple of more chapters here in Deuteronomy. We'll finish it up. I can't remember if it's 2 or 3, but we'll finish it up in the next couple of weeks. What I was planning on doing is watching the... I need to turn this down because I can hear it. I need to... watching the Promised Land. I don't know if anybody had seen that. It's good. It's comedia, comedia. It's comedy, but it has real good message. And it starts out more of a comedian type parody of Moses and all the characters, but it goes along with what we've been talking about, so I think we'll understand it a little bit. But when it gets towards the end, when they're setting up the tabernacle, it gets really good, I think. So it's only 5 sessions, I think, so, and some of them are pretty short, so we may watch more than one session a night. We'll see how it works. It's funny, so we'll watch it. And then we'll probably jump on over to another New Testament.
When are we going to start watching the movie?
Which what?
When are we going to start watching the show?
Which show?
The one we just talked about.
The prom in a couple of weeks, when we're finished with this.
I may not be.
Well, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Nope, I'm not on my. Were we through with Chosen?
We are through season 5 with Chosen. Season 6 has not come out. It will probably come out late this fall. Okay? So, and they have, I don't remember if I think it's 6 episodes that they're going to release all at once. So they'll have them, you can watch them all if you wanted to right away. But the 7th and the 8th episode is going to be a movie. And it'll be at the movie theaters. Now, eventually it'll come to the Chosen app and Prime. But they want to, it's the 24 hours of the crucifixion. They take 8 episodes for the crucifixion. So, it's really intense on that last 24 hours of Jesus' life. So, but it'll be sometime this fall. And there's also the 2nd season of The House of David. It's out, and we'll watch it sometime. We'll see what the next chapter is after this. I can't remember who it was. I can't remember if we've done Mark. We did Mark. I don't think we've done Luke. I'll have to look at home. But we're getting to where we've just about covered all the New Testament. We only have maybe 1 or 2 books that we haven't covered. So that tells you how long I've been doing this. So it's been a long time. It is. It's a lot of good stuff. So tonight, this is the last thing. It's Moses talked about the blessings and the cursings. And now he's telling them, kind of wrapping up everything, and then, like I said, the next week or the week after, he'll be giving his farewell goodbyes. And actually, the last 3 chapters, so maybe next week after that, people think, because basically it says he dies, so he couldn't have written it. So they think Joshua probably penned it for him, telling him what's going to do. And he's going to go up on the mountain and meet with God and all this stuff. Now, we really don't know exactly what happened. The next time we see Moses is when? In the Bible? The Transfiguration. Moses and Elijah and Jesus are on top of Mount Hermon, we believe, or Mount Hattin, I guess it is, up there, somewhere up north. And Peter, James, and John are up there with them, and they see the the Transfiguration, and they see the two figures. And he wants to build two stands for them, two booths, two temples. And he kind of said no. So anyway, we don't really, now we hear Moses all down through the rest of the Old Testament because they always go back and refer to what happened. The Sadducees, they only take the first 5 books of the Old Testament. They think everything written after that has nothing to do with the tea in China. So just imagine if this is all you had, these 5 books, and that's what you had to go off of. That'd be pretty sad. That's why they're sad, you see. No, I'm just kidding.
As you see, you're on the road.
Anyway, let's go ahead and get in here. Verse 1, now it shall come to pass when all these things come upon you, the blessings and the curse, which I have set before you, and you call them to mind among all the nations where the Lord your God drives you. Okay, so he's just telling them, reminding them what's going to happen from what they've been given. And both the blessings and the curse. And as we go down through there, he's going to remind them, and then at the end he's going to say, but I know you're not going to do it. I know you're going to mess up. I know you're going to do that. That's just what he does.
No, he's in charge.
Well, yeah. So it says, from the height of blessings during the reigns of David, Solomon, to the depth of the cursings at the fall of Jerusalem, Israel's history has been a legacy of either being blessed or cursed under the terms of the Old Testament. And that's basically what sums it up. Brother Epson, you want to read the next one down there?
And you return to the Lord your God and obey his voice, according to all that I command you today, you and your children, with all your heart, with all your soul, that the Lord your God will bring you back from captivity and have compassion on you and gather you again from all the nations where the Lord your God has scattered you. If any of you are driven out to the farthest part under heaven, from there the Lord your God will gather you, and from there he will bring you. Then the Lord your God will bring you to the land which your fathers possessed, and ye shall possess it, and he will prosper you and multiply you more than your fathers.
Okay. Again, another blessing. Okay. If any of you are driven out to the farthest parts under heaven, well, he's talking about all of the way. What happened? That happened. They were driven out all the way. They're all over the world right now. You have Jewish people living all over the world. And later on, they're going to come back. And this is almost a foretelling of what that happened, that God's going to bring them back. And he talks about that a little bit. And a little later on, it gets reverberated to the prophets and all of those down through the ages, that God's going to bring them back. But they were in captivity at one time in Egypt. Now they're going to have a vast nation. And if you ever look at the, I think I gave you guys one of those scriptures or one of the maps that shows what was promised to them. It goes from the Euphrates River, okay? That's a way far more east than what they are now. That encompasses Jordan and part of Iraq, all right, all the way over there. What we would say Babylon, even Persia is over on further, or Persia's Iran, so further east, but from there all the way to the sea. So when you hear the people, the quote Palestinians chanting from the river to the sea, that's actually what God gave Israel. And they don't know it. They're saying it, and they say that that's what, but God told that to the Jewish people long before Palestine was even a word.
You know, God has blessed, sent even in the last several centuries. God has blessed, even though they've had a curse upon them. Mm-hmm. God has blessed them.
Yes.
But look at the what they Jewish people and Jewish money have built a lot of the United States of America.
Mm-hmm.
And most all the countries they go to, that they've migrated to, or immigrated to, those countries have been blessed. Some of your greatest medical has been by Jews.
Mm-hmm. Even now today, many of the things that you see are breakthroughs. Technology, medical, like you said, all that's happening even today. I saw the other day, I think that they had put in a valve that was invented by, I believe it was a Jew, and it's for, quote, normally it would be open heart surgery, but now they go in, that's just like they do a stent and replace a valve without even having to do open heart surgery. And it's just amazing, just, one of those things that happens. So they are being blessed. We see them, even though, says Adam Clark, writing in 1811, okay, this was over 200 years ago, recognized this regathering had to be fulfilled in future time, because at the promise it was returned from captivity in which they had been scattered. Consequently, it was not Babylonian captivity, because pretty much they all went to Babylon, and then they went back, okay, to Jerusalem. So he's saying, and what we said, they're scattered all over the world. So even though that happened in the old time, it wasn't totally fulfilled, because now they're all over and they're starting to come back in record number. I mean, just people are coming back and more. It says at one time in the early days of the Zionist movement, the British offered the country of Uganda to the Jews as a place to establish a Jewish state. If that would have happened, and if the Jews from all over the world had flocked there to establish a Jewish state, it would not have fulfilled the promise of a restoration stated here and in other Old Testament passages. Sometimes people say, well, yeah, you see that, but you're just making the story fit. That was the story, and now, yeah, they're coming back. You see this right here. This was an option. God said, I don't like that option. I gave them the land over here. This is the land they're supposed to have. And however did it, the British gave them that land, okay, that they were supposed to have. And they have prospered since then. Okay, next one, Iris, top of page 4.
And the Lord your God will circumcise your heart and the heart of your descendants, to love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul, that you may live.
Okay. Now he's using that circumcise your heart. It's like you're going to start over again. You're going to remind this what you have to do. Because at the very first, they had to circumcise themselves in order to be set apart. And that's what he's telling them. I want you to be set apart. So you're going to have to set apart your heart. Okay? It's going to have to be different from what all the other people, they see and they want the same. You can't do that. You can't, see something and want exactly what they want. We can say that in a sense, not even the religious or Orthodox Jews have completely turned to the Lord. And that's true. Though they have had an important and precious part in God's plan for Israel in helping a spiritual consciousness for the Jewish people to survive through the centuries of the diaspora, they have not truly turned to the Lord. We can say this because the character and the nature of the Lord is perfectly expressed in his Messiah, Jesus. Jesus said, he who believes in me believes not in me, but in him who sent me. And he who sees me sees him who sent me. So they've been looking all the time for their Messiah, and they just missed him. Now there are many, what they call Messianic Jews, that they have seen and they have accepted Jesus as the Messiah. And they're living that Messianic, they're still holding to the Jewish faith because that's their faith. But they said, yeah, we see it now. It's all in, all the prophecies and everything. He fulfills it. Okay, 7 through 10 on the bottom, page 5. Tammy?
Also, the Lord your God will put all these curses on your enemies and on those who hate you.
persecuted you, and you will again obey the voice of the Lord, and do all his commandments which I command you today. The Lord your God will make you abound in all the work of your hands, in the fruit of your body, and increase of your livestock, and the produce of your land for good. For the Lord will again rejoice over you for good, as he rejoiced over your fathers. If you obey the voice of the Lord your God, to keep his commandments and his statutes, which are written in this book of the law, and if you return to the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul.
Okay. So it's telling them again, they have to make a change. They have to change from what they were when they were slaves in Egypt. They have to make a change. And that's what he's trying to be doing for 40 years, trying to get them to make a choice to the Lord. Bertha, 11 through 14.
For this commandment which I command you today is not mysterious for you, nor is it far off. It is not in heaven, that you should say, who will ascend into heaven for us and bring it to us, that we may hear it and do it? Nor is it beyond the sea, that you should say, who will go over the sea for us and bring it to us, that we may hear and do it? But the word is very near you, in your mouth and in your heart, and that you may do it.
Okay. So many times people, there's requirements in a lot of things that we do. Take a driver's license, you have to be able to read the handbook and take a test. You know, all these things. Well, that's basically what he's doing here. I gave you these 10 commandments. God gave you these 10 commandments plus all the other commandments that's in there. Now you have to, and they reread them. We're getting ready to see that they're supposed to reread them ever so often to remind them. He also tells them, put a copy of this book, and I'm getting ahead of myself, but put a copy of this book in with the tabernacle and then with the king. So the king will have it. Well, they didn't even have a king at that time. Okay, we'll read that in just a minute. But so they were supposed to take this, and these are stone tablets, and make copies of these. And that's where we get where it lays down the different parts that we have now of our Bible, okay, that was written. Of course, it's the first 5 books, of course. So, but he's saying it's not hard. It's not hard at all. I'm not asking too much of y'all.
He's trying to show them it's a simple understanding.
It is. It's not hard. It's easy to understand. If you do this, you'll be rewarded. If you do this, you'll be punished, basically. Verse 15, see, I have set before you today life and good, death and evil, in that I command you today to love the Lord your God, to walk in his ways, and to keep his commandments, his statutes, and his judgments, that you may live and multiply, and the Lord your God will bless you in the land which you go to possess. But if your heart turns away so that you do not hear, and are drawn away, and worship other gods, and serve them, I announce to you today that you shall surely perish. You shall not prolong your days in the land which you cross over the Jordan to go in and possess. So he's telling him, you got a choice. Which one you're going to choose? You're going to choose life and good that comes with it, or you're going to choose death and evil that comes with that. And that's the cursings that he has. If you keep these commandments, these statutes that he's given unto them. Says, if this old covenant, well, let me read one before it makes sense more. It's essential for us to understand that we in Christ do not relate to God on the terms of the old covenant, but on the terms of a better covenant, the new covenant. Under the new covenant, my relationship with God is not based on what I do for God, but on what Jesus has done on my behalf. There is, of course, more to the new covenant than this, but this is one of the crucial distinctions between the two covenants. If this old covenant is inferior to the new covenant, and if there was a high price to pay for rejecting the old covenant, should we not know there is an even greater penalty for rejecting even a greater covenant. So he's just, making it very plain.
He makes it of the heart.
He does.
Like you said, under the law of physical. I mean, you got caught in adultery, you got stoned. Well, you don't now you don't get stoned, but if you steal, I mean, you're guilty of.
You're going to lose out, if that happens. If you don't repent of it, it's going to happen. Okay, 19, Brother Epperson.
I call heaven and earth as a witness today against you, that I have set before you life and death, blessing and cursing. Therefore choose life, that both you and your descendants may live, that you may love the Lord your God, that you may obey his voice, and then that you may cling to him. For he is your life and the length of your days, and that you shall dwell that you may dwell in the land of which the Lord swore unto your fathers, to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, to give you.
Okay. So he's telling them again, I promise this is all the way back to Abraham. And I will do it if you will just keep these commandments that I've given him. Now, why didn't he give him the commandments to Abraham? I don't know. Abraham was following him, he met with him regularly. He met with Moses regularly. But it wasn't enough. Okay, they were in that particular land. God wanted to separate the people out. So that's why he had them go down to Egypt. That particular time, they would have perished maybe even if they hadn't done that because of the famine. So he had to do that. Now they're being brought out. We said, boy, that's a long way to go to get something, But that was God. He was doing that for them, to set them apart.
Are they not just getting some of this stuff at all?
Huh?
Are they not just...
Well, it's just like us going down the road. We don't see 10 miles up in the air what's going on. We just see what's right in front of us. And sometimes we don't even see what's right in front of us because we're too busy with something else. We're busy. I was trying to come over here today and this car was going like this, back and forth. And I said, sure wish a cop was around. He's either drunk or he's texting. Finally, he pulls over to the right when there's 2 lanes and I can see him there in one hand. He's with this and he's driving like this. And I'm like, crazy. It's not that important. Anyway, he's telling them to choose life. Okay, in this. There's life and death and there's blessings and cursings. Which one do you want? Sounds like easy choice, doesn't it?
Yeah.
In everything, he created Adam and Eve, put them in a perfect spot, but they were free moral agents.
That's right.
He gave them a chance.
Mm-hmm.
They messed up. Okay, he's long-suffering, then he brings on Abraham.
Mm-hmm.
They brings Noah,
Yeah, down through.
It's history.
Mm-hmm.
Each time he gives it, I don't know if he would once say, hey, we can read this, and we think, wow, we're so stupid.
Right.
We do it over and
Over and over and over again. Mm-hmm.
Sometimes Israel was in bondage 400 years, another time 70 years.
Right.
Over and over again. And he works with us, and
He's still...
we're in his long-suffering stage right now.
Us, the Gentiles, everybody else, and his chosen people, both, same way. And we'll see later on in some of the Old Testament and some of this Old Testament and some, of course, the New, that he's not just, even now, he's set it up to where it's not just these people. Anybody that chooses him, okay, it will be rewarded. So this man today, even outside the old covenant, is confronted with the choice. But the choice focuses not on will I obey God or not, but on will I trust in Jesus for my standing before God. Because that's what we're doing. We can't, there is nothing we can do that earns our way before God. There was a saying one time, this preacher died and went to heaven, and St. Peter said, okay, it's time to come up. You got to get 100 points to get into heaven. He said, well, I was a preacher. He said, okay, 1 point. He said, well, I stayed married to the same wife for 50 years. Oh, that's really good. 1 point. He went on and named several things, and he's just like, at this rate, I'll never get in. And he goes, ding, 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 that's right. You won't. You got to rely on Christ. That's the whole thing. All right, let's go on to the next page, which starts the next chapter. So here's some final instructions, it says, from Moses. Then Moses went and spoke these words to all Israel, and he said to them, I am 120 years old today. Okay, so he died on his 120th birthday. I can no longer go out and come in. Also, the Lord has said to me, you shall not cross over this Jordan. So he's telling them. So some of the people may not have known this at the time, that he's not going to lead us over, Now, we'll get into it in just a little bit. We talked about it a little bit last week, but we'll talk about it in a little bit more in just a minute. So, and it says Moses at 120 was not limited by his physical condition. Said in just a short time he's going to climb to the top of a mountain, which a man of 120 you wouldn't think he'd be able to do. But instead he could no longer go out and come in because he was limited by God's command, the decree that Moses would not enter the promised land. And when he goes up to that mountain and when he dies, he's looking. I had a picture of it today. I was kind of skimming through some pictures. A drawing, wasn't a picture, but had Moses sitting on a rock looking down in a valley, and he could see that river and the land over there. But he just wasn't going to be able to get there. Okay? You shall not cross over this Jordan is what God told him. These words, specific words of God to Moses, are not recorded in the Numbers 20 account. This must be a further elaboration of the decree, you shall not bring this congregation into the land which I have given them. Okay, so the first time they heard it back in Numbers 20, it was a little different. Now they're hearing it for something that I can't go over. And the people's kind of like, well, why can't you go over? It says there's a difference between you shall not bring this congregation into the land and you shall not cross over this Jordan. The first statement, it is allowable that Moses could go into the promised land, but not as the leader of the nation, having passed the torch of leadership to Joshua. But God made it more clear to Moses, you shall not even cross the Jordan. God's correction of Moses was hard. Not only will he not lead Israel into the promised land, he will not even go there. That which he had dreamed of and felt called to as a child in the palaces of Egypt, to deliver God's people, will not be completed. He won't. Another is going to finish the job, and Moses' feet will never touch the soil of the land that God promised to the covenant descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Why was it such a severe punishment? What did Moses do? That was a question last week. So it was back again in Numbers 20 when it happened at Meribah. The people wanted water again. This was more than once, but this is the final time, one of the final times. When Israel complained and cried out for water, Moses misrepresented God. He misrepresented God by lecturing the nation harshly and unnecessarily. I can relate to that. You stupid people, I've told you 2 or 3 times,
Do I got to tell you again?
Yeah, that's one of my things I have to work on, okay? If I have to say things more than once, okay, you didn't hear me the first time, I'll give you that. The second time, I'll get a little louder. If you don't get it now,
Never mind.
yeah, you ain't going to get it. So that's one of the things that just seems to bother me. I don't know why, but it does. So,
You
here,
ever said, you don't
Don't do that,
like
okay.
stupid people.
I don't, well, yeah, I want people to listen to me. I've already said that, I don't. No, it's just, you can tell because of that, they're not stupid. They're not paying attention. They're not listening to you. You try to have a talk to people, and I do it too. I'm not saying that that's part of what I have to work on too. That, I have to start doing better at listening. I don't listen sometimes. I listen, I hear you. Yeah, you're talking. I can see. Okay, yeah. What'd you say? I didn't get that last part. So, yeah. It's one of those things.
Do you listen to your grandchildren more?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we're playing. It's just you get busy in anything that you do. Even with them, I'll say just a minute. If I'm doing something and they're doing something, I'll say just a minute.
Well, I remember, Liz would say something and I'd say, "What'd you say?"
Mm-hmm.
And she'd say, "Didn't you hear me?"
Right.
And really I did, but what it was is that moment she said it, it didn't quite flip my switch, okay?
I'm not on the same level where you are right now, so you need to give me a little backup, okay, from what I was supposed to do. And then start over. What was you thinking before you said that? Tell me that part too. Because that's what happens. People, I do that a lot. I'm thinking in my mind, and all of a sudden I'll just, well, yeah, okay. And they're like, what are you talking about? And just look at you and it's like, that's crazy. And so that's part of what wanting to be, I guess, being part of a man. I have fewer words that I like to use. And I should express myself more, I guess, and give a little more definition. Am I getting myself in hot water? Probably. Anyway. It says this may seem excessively harsh punishment for Moses. He only had one slip up. Because what did God tell him to do? Speak to the rock. Okay, before he told him to hit the rock. Okay? There was a time before where the people needed water. I don't know if it was this exact same rock. I don't think it was, but maybe it was. I haven't looked at that. But this time he's frustrated. He with the people, they've asked it for again. He's and just, whacks it, but he does it twice. He hits the rock and he hits it twice, and then he comes down on the people, you stupid people, you want water, and he's just going after it. So what that means, Moses is being judged by a stricter standard because of his leadership with the nation, because he had a unique, he was with God. His face radiated. The people couldn't even see because his face radiated the glory of God. But he's still human. He's part of it. He's part of this. It says it's right for teachers and leaders to be judged by a stricter standard, though it is unrighteous to hold teachers and leaders to a perfect standard. None of us are perfect. Now, perfect meaning, in my opinion, and many times we talk about it, it's complete. We're not going to be complete until we get to heaven. So we're going to mess up. We're not going to be, everybody looks at it and, yeah, there's lots of things. I go to see people and, some people just meeting people. Some people, as soon as you, first 10 seconds, 30 seconds, whatever, I don't like him. He's not my personality type that I get along with. But on the job, that's what you do. You have to learn to get with people and work with them and do whatever they were. You can't let that stand in your way. But Moses had it. He was really distraught here when this happened.
I Will we
question.
be judged by obedience?
I'm sorry?
Will we be judged by obedience? Like obedience?
Okay, there's two different things. There's two different things you're talking about. Will we make it to heaven?
Mm-hmm.
If we follow Christ, if we accept Him as our Savior, we'll be made to heaven. Mm-hmm. Later on, we're going to be given gifts or crowns. Those crowns you have worked for. It's the things you have done.
Oh.
And one of those things may be obedience.
So that is
If
obedience.
you follow again. Yeah, that's not going to earn you salvation.
No. I didn't
Okay.
mean that. I just meant
Yeah.
after in heaven, do we also get judged by, were we obedient?
We will be, some people will have higher statuses. It's kind of like I read a story the other day, and they always put these stories in Facebook that kind of, it was R.C. Sproul. They asked him, he's a preacher, he's a little older than Billy Graham was. And they asked him if Billy Graham was going to be in heaven. And you're like, duh. You know, but R.C. Sproul said no. And that's what they put on the headline. And I go, oh, I got to read this. I got to read this, you know. So I clicked on it and read it. And he said, I am going to be so far back in the crowd. And Billy Graham's going to be right up there by Christ. I'm not going to see him. So the gist is, yes, there will be people, and we'll all be there. We don't know how that's going to happen. But we know that we're going to be rewarded. It tells us that. There's going to be crowns given out.
Some of us, we might be some of the laborers that help carry Brother Billy's crown.
That's right. Whatever we do in church, whatever we do for the Lord, I say in church, but for the Lord, is going to be counted for us, okay? That's not, we can't earn our salvation at all. That's not earning our salvation. It's going to be counted on what you do. How many people have been saved? Well, yeah, Billy Graham's way up there. Franklin Graham's getting up there. Many, many people have been, saved. How many people have I saved? I haven't saved anybody, but have led to the Lord. That's going to be a lot lower number, And so that's what's going to be related. But we still have to work on it. We still have to do what we can do. You look at yourself, say, I'm an old retired man here in Owasso, Oklahoma. What can I do? Hopefully doing this and doing things, We got a ministry in Pakistan because Brother Epperson and I kind of had a vision. We're reaching people for that. Hopefully it helps out.
Totally agree.
Yes.
Totally agree.
Well, I thought that was a good question, because I feel like I thought if we follow God's guiding and His question of what He wants us to do, that not mighty hard being judged in heaven.
Well, we see when it talks about the faithful, and you go back through and it talks about the people in Hebrews there, and you can go back and look, and they messed up. But they're in heaven now. So it says that they are the faithful. They're the ones that have, Abraham had a different wife, and David, had somebody killed after he'd had another wife that wasn't his, another woman.
Well, we won't be perfect anyway.
But that's it. That we need to. Our focus needs to be on Him. We talk about Old Testament, but then in the New Testament too. Paul had some issues. Peter did too.
In the military, I call, my oldest grandson's still in the military. And my middle grandson spent 6 years in reserve. They're not combat veterans.
Right.
They're veterans.
Right.
And our Veterans Day is not for combat veterans, it's for veterans.
all
of the
veterans.
military. And so a couple of times I've called them and they say, oh, Paul, we're not veterans. And I said, yeah, you are. You did what you were called to do. And that's when we're in the army of the Lord.
Right.
And we're going to have generals and we're it.
Mhm.
But our reward will be on how we carry out what we're called to do.
That's right.
And in other words, yeah, there's majors and there's captains, and
Mhm.
you have to all have all of those for the program.
Right.
And you got to have all what we have for the program, but they all make up the program.
That's right. It's all part of it. One of the things that I'd never thought about, this last paragraph on page 11 says, worst of all, Moses defaced the beautiful picture of Jesus' redemptive work through the rock that provided water in the wilderness. The New Testament makes it clear this water-providing, life-giving rock was a picture of Jesus. Jesus being struck once provided life for all who would drink of him. Okay? But it was unnecessary and unrighteous that Jesus would be struck again, much less again twice, because the Son of God needed only to be suffered once. Jesus can now be approached with words of faith, as Moses should have only used words of faith to bring life-giving water to the nation of Israel. Moses ruined that picture of the work of Jesus God intended. I'd never seen that before. Never grabbed hold of that. But that's, to me, pretty cool.
Okay. I thought Moses wasn't able to go into the promised land because I thought, or was taught, because he touched the Ten Commandments. But that's
No.
not it at all.
Oh, no.
No,
God gave him another set. It's no big deal.
it's because he disobeyed.
Yeah.
The only thing is the second set he had to carve out himself.
Yeah.
God
First one God wrote with his hand, and then the second one, it says later on that Moses has wrote it. Okay, Brother Epson, 3.
The Lord your God himself crosses over before you. He will destroy these nations from before you, and you shall dispose them. Joshua himself crosses over before you, just as the Lord has said. And the Lord will do to them as he did in Sihon and Og, and the kings of the Amorites and their lands when he destroyed them. The Lord will give them over to you, that you may do to them according to every commandment which I have commanded you. Be strong, of good courage, do not fear, nor be afraid. For the Lord your God is with you, who goes with you, and he will not leave you nor forsake you.
Okay.
You know, we read scripture sometimes that be as strong and good courage.
Mhm.
Oh, that's quoted a lot over the years. But sometimes we forget in the context of that it was given.
Yeah, that's right. It's an encouragement, and I never thought of this way either, but the commentaries, all the commentaries that I read said this is an encouragement to Joshua, because for this long time he was with Moses and he followed Moses and was his right-hand man. You know, you would have thought he would be up to par, but now Moses is going away all of a sudden, it seems like, and he's and we'll see that next week in that or in the next couple of weeks, this parody that we have. So
It'd be rough following one of the greatest men in the Bible.
exactly, it's just like, who am I? I'm just nobody. And they said he did have, and I don't know how they know, but they said that that's what Moses is doing here, to impart to him. He's not, and God is even doing it. It's not saying, you can do it. Come on, Joshua, you can do it like that. He's not saying, no, go be strong and be courage. You go about your business. Look what we did to those kings is on this side of the river. You can do the very same thing to those people on the other side of the river. Okay, Iris, 7.
Then Moses called Joshua and said to him in the sight of all Israel, be strong and of good courage, for you must go with this people to the land which the Lord has sworn to their fathers to give them, and you shall cause them to inherit it. And the Lord, he is the one who goes before you. He will be with you. He will not leave you nor forsake you. Do not fear nor be dismayed.
Okay. How many knew that was in the Bible? He will not leave you nor forsake you. It's not only here. It's in the New Testament too, talking about God. He will be with us always. Okay, Tammy, next page.
So Moses wrote this law and delivered it to the priests, the sons of Levi, who bore the ark of the covenant of the Lord, and all the elders of Israel. And Moses commanded them, saying, at the end of every 7 years, at the appointed time in the year of release, at the Feast of Tabernacles, when all Israel comes to appear before the Lord your God in the place which he chooses, you shall read this law before all Israel in their hearing. Gather the people together, men and women and little ones, and the stranger who is within your gates, that they may hear and that they may learn to fear the Lord your God and carefully observe all the words of this law, and that their children who have not known it may hear and learn to fear the Lord your God as long as you live in the land which you cross the Jordan to possess.
Okay. He's telling them, and back in Exodus and Leviticus, I believe too, when he's talking about the different feasts. This Feast of Tabernacles, it's one of the feasts that they have. This is a time that they're supposed to read every 7 years. They'll read this to the nation. Okay. Now they're supposed to also in every, not just then, but also in every city, the synagogues and the families, they're supposed to read the scriptures to them. But here, God is telling them that they're supposed to read this time of year. Now, they haven't read it. God gave it to them 40 years ago. They haven't read it since. So now they're reading it again, and it says, this is the bottom there. It says, this is the first we know of a public reading of the laws in Joshua. The next we hear of it is during the reign of Jehoshaphat. Now, it may have happened more, but they didn't write it down. 500 years later. They wasn't quite keeping at least they didn't write down that they read it. Then in the reign of Josiah, there's another public reading of the law in 2 Chronicles. That was 250 years after Jehoshaphat. So we don't know exactly if they were keeping this law or they wasn't. But it was trying to teach them, just like they had heard back 40 years ago. Well, most of them were young enough, they may not even recognized it. So they're telling them, you need to do this and do it every 7 years. What's another?
The law was lost, wasn't it? They didn't find
Yeah, that's right. That's one of these. It tells us, I think it's that last one where, or maybe it's Josiah, when they said that we found the law, and then they read it before them. Bertha, 14 and 15 on page 15.
The Lord said to Moses, behold, the days approach when you must die. Call Joshua and present yourself in the tabernacle of Egypt, that I may inaugurate him. So Moses and Joshua went and presented themselves in the tabernacle of Egypt. Now the Lord appeared in the tabernacle in a pillar of cloud, and a pillar of cloud stood above the door of the tabernacle.
Okay, so he's publicly going out and telling them, hey, make sure everybody's aware that Joshua's going to be in charge after this. So he inaugurates him. He brings him out, brings him to the tabernacle in front of everybody and tells them this, okay? And at that particular time, the cloud, the glory of the Lord, came and sat over the tabernacle again for them, waiting for them. So it was a confirmation of not only that, but of that Joshua was going to is taken over for him. Excuse me. And the next page. And the Lord said to Moses, behold, you will rest with your fathers, and this people will rise and play the harlot with the gods of the foreigners of the land, where they go to be among them. And they will forsake me and break my covenant, which I have made with them. Then my anger shall be aroused against them in that day. And I will forsake them, and I will hide my face from them. And they shall be devoured, and many evils and troubles shall befall them, so that they will say in that day, how not these evils come upon us, because our God is not among us. And I will surely hide my face in that day, because of all the evil which they have done, in that they have turned to other gods. Now therefore write down this song for yourselves, and teach it to the children of Israel. Put it in their mouths, that this song may be a witness for me against the children of Israel, when I have brought them to the land flowing with milk and honey, of which I swore to their fathers, and they have eaten and filled themselves and grown fat. Then they will turn to other gods and serve them, and they will provoke me and break my covenant. Then it shall be, when many evils and troubles have come upon them, that this song will testify against them as a witness. For it will not be forgotten in the mouths of their descendants, for I know the inclination of their behavior today, even before I have brought them to the land of which I swore to give them. Therefore Moses wrote this song the same day and taught it to the children of Israel. So, and that's what we'll get into next time. It'll have the song. But it's just, God tells Moses, I already know what's going to happen. Boy, that's scary, after all this time it's been happening, but it did. He's
They got where they threw their babies into fire.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but sacrifice them. Okay, Brother Epperson, 23.
Then he inaugurated Joshua, the son of Nun, and he said, be strong and of good courage, for you shall bring the children of Israel into the land which I swore to them, and I will be with you.
Having that confidence, having that being said to him, that had to help Joshua, had to encourage him to be ready to take on this mantle, because just like you said, one of the most famous men of all, the Bible almost, and to take over from him, that's just incredible. Iris, 24 through 27.
So it was, when Moses had completed writing the words of this law in a book, when they were finished, that Moses commanded the Levites who bore the ark of the covenant of the Lord, saying, take this book of the law and put it beside the ark of the covenant of the Lord your God, that it may be there as a witness against you. For I know your rebellion and your stiff neck. If today, while I am yet alive with you, you have been rebellious against the Lord, then how much more after my death?
He's laying it out pretty straight to them. They need to listen. So he's witnessing unto them. Okay, Tammy, the last. That's all.
Gather to me all the elders of your tribes and your officers, that I may speak these words in their hearing, and call heaven and earth to witness against them. For I know that after my death you will become utterly corrupt, and turn aside from the way which I have commanded you. And evil will befall you in the latter days, because you will do evil in the sight of the Lord, to provoke him to anger through the work of your hands. Then Moses spoke in the hearing of all the assembly of Israel the words of this song until they were ended.
Okay.
When I was a teenager, our teacher, our Sunday school teacher, he would have us read like we're reading now, and then he would say, what do you think?
What do you think? Yeah.
Our famous word was, it's
Pretty self-explanatory. Yeah.
Man alive.
Yeah, that's hard to
John, you
do.
wouldn't have to say nothing, man.